explore the basement, but it's a big.
Late at night in the Appalachian region, a woman and her child were startled by inexplicable noises coming directly from their yard.
I just heard some really strange noises outside, so I'm just gonna take a quick look. I live in Appalachia, so this is probably not a great idea. What is that? I don't even know. I guess I'll just take a quick look. There's a skull there? Oh my gosh. What the heck? Why is there a skull here? Hello? Hello? Oh my gosh, I gotta get back inside.
Intrigued but extremely cautious, she stepped outside to investigate what was happening. Having no desire to figure out exactly who was making the sounds or how skulls had appeared on the property, she hurried back inside and bolted all the doors behind her. It remains a mystery. Did someone intentionally plant those remains there, or was something else entirely happening that night? In 2009, a group of friends decided to go camping deep in the woods. Their plan was as simple as it gets: spend a quiet evening, have a few drinks, trade jokes, and just have a great time. The guys brought video cameras to capture memorable moments and recorded random fragments of their trip throughout the night. Everything was going perfectly until, during one of the filming segments, they spotted something truly terrifying.
You want a little nut salad, Barry? You little creature. Yeah, maybe once it gets 10 degrees warmer. Down here around this dog pound, we kick it like a bunch of rednecks. Yeah! Drink your Bush Light, smoke your cigarettes. Oh yeah, I owe you like 8 or 9 from last night. Yo, what's it? Yo! Yeah, that is. Hello? Yo, you see that dude? Look! Yo, get the f out of here. Get the f out of here.
At first, the guys thought it was just some random person. Someone deciding to scare them for fun, but then the situation quickly turned bone-chilling. A dark silhouette suddenly dropped to all fours and bolted deep into the forest at an absolutely abnormal, frightening speed. And that was the moment they were hit by a real wave of panic, and they did exactly what any normal person would do in that situation. They turned around and ran as fast as they could in the opposite direction, not even trying to look back. Sometime later, they uploaded this footage to YouTube, and the video clip went viral instantly. In the comments section, all sorts of theories started pouring in. Some people firmly insisted it was a Bigfoot, pointing to how incredibly fast the creature moved. Others wrote that it could have been a legendary skinwalker or something else supernatural. Of course, there is always a chance that this was all just someone's prank, but truth be told, no one ever really found out what it was. What do you think? Was it something paranormal, or did someone just pull a cruel prank on the guys? Something flashed among the trees, but the logic here is simple. It could have very well been a regular person who just wanted to play a prank on the group. The moment when someone runs on all fours is a classic move that scares almost any viewer. So, the probability that this was a prank increases significantly. And a poor quality camera from 2009 only heightens the effect of anxiety and uncertainty. Still, how could a human suddenly take off and accelerate on 4 limbs like that? That in itself is scary. Write your thoughts about this in the comments. Mandy lives in the Appalachian Mountains. She has several outdoor security cameras installed around her house and property, equipped with motion sensors and audio detectors. On her profile, you can find several videos from these same cameras where you can clearly see local wildlife running by. But this particular time, something truly strange happened. One evening, she received a notification on her phone that a motion sensor had been triggered on one of the cameras. She was genuinely shocked when she carefully reviewed the footage from that camera. See for yourself. It all starts with a piercing, eerie whistle and someone's request to be let inside. Despite all of Mandy's efforts to spot anyone, nobody is visible on the video. However, these creepy sounds do not stop, literally haunting her at her doorstep every subsequent night. Although some commenters claim to have noticed someone's face in the thicket of trees, I cannot say for sure that I see anything unusual on this recording, except for the strange whistling followed by a frightening whisper. What do you think this could be, a person or some kind of animal? The author of the video stated that she cannot call the police because they simply won't take such complaints seriously, as she hasn't seen anyone herself and found no signs of physical intrusion. Mandy's anxiety is only growing. She constantly checks her other cameras, but sees only this on them. This video was made by a camera located right at the front door. The strange sounds resumed a few hours after the first video was filmed. Someone clearly whispers, "Let me in," and that same whistle from the very first clip is heard again, but there is absolutely no one on the porch again. Mandy also posted a recording from another camera mounted higher up, where she specifically pointed with an arrow to where the camera from the first scene is located. On this recording, it is clearly visible that there isn't a soul outside the field of view of the first camera. A few days after this incident, it all happened again, but this time at an even later hour. Listen very closely. The next night, it seems the mysterious entity finally managed to get inside the house, just as it had asked in its requests, because this time the recording was made inside the living quarters rather than outside.
Baby, I have to. How bad? I'm sorry, but you keep being sure to the man. Yes, I know. Mama's in the big apple. I know. I tried giving you the bubbles. You wouldn't take the bubbles. Now you have nothing for bubbles. No bubbles for what now? No bubbles for you now. I'm not giving you bubbles now.
Hey.
Oh.
Gusto mong bababo po, Lisa? I'm just getting another bottle.
Mandy claims that at that specific moment, she didn't hear the strange crashing and whispering herself, but they are heard very clearly on the final video. Many commenters also suggested that someone tech-savvy could have hacked her camera system and was just scaring the author by broadcasting strange sounds, but she denies this version and even showed a clear example of what it sounds like when someone actually speaks through the camera.
Hello? 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 So if I'm talking through, I cannot see because it sounds very loud. Somebody was hacking and talking through that camera. Can you hear the echo? So I don't know if someone was hacking it and talking through it, but I really don't think so. It's a Ring camera, but we have 24/7 monitoring, so I think I would get some kind of alert if it was being hacked, but I'm not 100%.
Of course, this could turn out to be some animal, as many viewers were quick to point out, and some even suggest that the regular wind could have been recorded by the camera microphone in such a strange way. This could explain the videos filmed outside the house, but then what are we hearing on the recording made inside the home? Additionally, this entire video sequence could have been skillfully faked, because nowadays it's not that hard to overlay any sound effects onto an existing video. We will likely never know if this story is real or not. Lizzie, a big fan of long-distance hiking, had heard a huge number of scary stories in her life related to the Appalachians. Out of simple curiosity, she and her friend booked and rented a quiet cabin right at the edge of the forest.
Mike.
Deep in the night, around 2 in the morning, they were suddenly woken up by a loud scream. Someone was desperately calling for help. Just a moment later, the sounds of gunshots rang out in the silence. The girls just froze in place, immediately remembering all the warnings, and didn't make a single sound in response. Should they have tried to call for help, or did they do the right thing by deciding to follow the unspoken safety rules of this grim place?
Don't forget to like the video and subscribe. It really helps the channel grow.
This man was taking a walk somewhere in Maryland, being on one of the popular routes of the famous Appalachian Trail, when everything around started to get quite strange. After a certain amount of time, he began to clearly hear incomprehensible sounds. They were coming from right behind his back, then from somewhere up ahead, then it generally seemed like they were coming from all directions at once. And gradually, that inexplicable feeling began to creep up on him. When you clearly realize that you are quite possibly far from alone in these woods, he pulled out his phone and started recording. At first, there is absolutely nothing special in the frame, but in the background, quiet and almost subtle noises are clearly heard.
Si hay algo en estos bosques, la sensación que he venido sintiendo es muy fuerte. Vengo caminando, apagué la cámara, se oyen ruidos extraños. Es imposible que traiga la cámara prendida todo el tiempo porque pues se me iba a acabar la pila y iba a ser un video demasiado largo, pero sí he sentido cosas, una sensación muy extraña realmente. Creo que está peor que el último video que subí grabado allá en el Chapel Ranch en Seaford, Delaware. Aquí realmente sí es una sensación totalmente diferente. Me voy a callar tantito para que escuchen el ruido del bosque, unos 10 segundos.
He tried to brush it off and kept hiking down the trail, but before long, the noises grew clearer and seemed to close in on him. That's when he pulled out his phone again, hit record, and captured this.
Sensación muy rara, pero algo hay aquí porque nomás de repente es un silencio total. ¿Oyeron? ¿Oyeron?
Now these noises became much louder, and it became perfectly clear, something was very close to him. To say with 100% certainty who or what it was is extremely difficult. Maybe it was a forest animal, maybe some person, or maybe something else entirely. Given that all of this was happening specifically on the Appalachian Trail, it was unlikely to be just some nonsense. These places truly have a very special, oppressive atmosphere. Sophie is a girl who lives in a house located near the Appalachian forest. One evening, she was just playing with a ball in her yard when strange sounds began to come from the woods. At first, she honestly tried not to pay attention to them, deciding for herself that it was just some wild animal. But the noise was getting louder and seemed to be intentionally approaching her. Sophie felt a strong sense of unease and decided to grab her phone just in case to record everything if it happened again. And it did indeed happen again.
Ew, it smells weird in my mouth. Oh, that just went. Hello? I'm like, oh no, I'm out. I'm done. That's it. I'm out. No.
In the filmed clip, you can hear her whispering very nervously to the camera that she feels wildly paranoid at that moment. Then something rustles sharply and loudly in the forest thicket, and she reacts to it in fear. But the most frightening episode is a very quiet whisper that clearly pronounced her own name. At first, it's quite difficult to make out what was said, but once you catch that specific word, it becomes impossible to ignore. Many viewers in their comments also clearly heard this voice and suggested it might be a mimic, a creature that, according to legends, knows how to copy voices, sounds, or even a person's appearance to lure its victim. Sophie immediately rushed home and locked all the doors behind her. Fortunately, absolutely nothing else happened that night, but hearing your name whispered directly from the woods is something hard to even imagine without getting goosebumps. What do you personally think about all this? That whisper could have very well come from a regular person or been an echo, which is very easily distorted in a forest environment. The rustling, that could have been any animal, I don't know, maybe some branch fell from a tree, for example, or Sophie herself accidentally stepped on something. The only scary thing in this story is the coincidence of the total darkness and the fact that someone knew her name and said it in the dark. And now only one question remains. If it was a real person, how could they have known her name was Sophie? Perhaps it was all just a fake. Definitely write in the comments whether you think this is a completely fake video or if it's such a truly creepy coincidence. During their excursion to an old abandoned quarry, a group of friends suddenly noticed a man standing completely still, facing a rock wall. From time to time, he jerked strangely, but he never once turned around in their direction. They felt very uneasy from what they saw and decided not to go any closer, leaving shortly after this encounter. That very same night, another friend of theirs was driving along a very narrow road near that same quarry and saw a mysterious figure in a long black coat. The stranger didn't move a single step, and being very frightened, she had to back her car up the dark road because he just stayed there standing motionless. Everyone involved was absolutely sure it was the same person. Why was he still in that area and what was he actually doing there? A man was just about to get into bed when he suddenly caught a sharp crashing sound coming from the bathroom. He immediately grabbed his cell phone to record what was happening, and the resulting footage turned out to be truly sinister.
Acostar, pero hay algo que lo escuché. Basta, basta. Basta, basta. Aparece, basta. Aparece. Salí, yo no te tengo más miedo. No te tengo más miedo. Aparece. ¿Qué es eso? Estoy viendo ahí. ¿Qué es eso? ¿Dónde estás? ¿Dónde estás?
At first, you can clearly hear someone seemingly pounding on the door from the inside, but then the situation becomes even more mysterious. The knocking stops instantly, and a few moments later, something terrifying happens. A dark silhouette appears to peek out from behind the doorframe. Later, the man inspects the bathroom, but there is absolutely no one inside. And here is what causes the most dread. If you replay the recording and look closely, it's obvious that this isn't just random shadows. No traces of editing or cuts were found in this video clip. So, what was it? Who exactly, or what kind of entity, could have been peeking at him from the bathroom? I'm waiting for your thoughts in the comments. A woman, who was home all alone, sets her phone on a tripod and begins recording a yoga tutorial, and suddenly something happens that no one could have predicted.
Please get out of my apartment. Please get out of my apartment.
She abruptly realizes that she is not alone in the apartment. You can hear her reciting mantras aloud, and then a stranger appears in the frame, walking right out of her bedroom closet. If you look closely, you can see some kind of object in his left hand. It is perfectly clear that she does not know him. The girl immediately grabs her phone and bolts out of the apartment. But then the events take an even scarier turn. She posts this video on social media, hoping that someone might be able to identify the individual. However, observant viewers noticed a detail that was far more bone-chilling. Rewatch this fragment again. As she rushes toward the exit, the door opens on its own, as if some otherworldly force assisted her escape from the uninvited guest. So, what do you think? Did something actually help her get out, or was the feeling of fear so powerful that she forced the door open with her mind, so to speak? Write down your guesses. Perhaps it's a staged video, but on one hand, it's noticeable that the woman was genuinely terrified and did not expect this man to appear before she started running. Of course, what horrified me the most was that the man said, "Relax, it's okay, we're friends." Due to the low resolution, I couldn't make out exactly what was in his hand. If it were just a prank, he probably would have mounted the camera in a corner or held it in front of himself to record funny content. As for the door opening on its own, there is a logical explanation. This is an old building, which is obvious from the way the door frame looks. The door could have simply swung open due to a sudden rush of air or a strong draft. This video material was uploaded to TikTok on November 23, 2024. In it, a young woman goes for a pleasant jog accompanied by her dog. At first, everything looked completely ordinary. They are enjoying an active outing in a picturesque park on a fair autumn day.
Somebody's chasing me down.
And indeed, behind their backs, you can see an unusual, very tall dark figure. Amazingly, Sari maintains her full composure and does not start to panic, even though the vast majority of people would likely have experienced much higher levels of stress. In a follow-up video, she explained that she felt as if someone was following her, which is exactly why she pulled out her device to document what was happening. It was only 3 days later that she re-examined the recording. She spotted a dark silhouette frozen further down the trail, watching her. Fortunately, this figure did not follow her home, but it is still extremely unpleasant to realize that someone was just standing there, staring intently. An Instagram user posted a video in mid-June capturing a truly disturbing nighttime incident. Somewhere in the Australian outback, he is driving along a deserted highway in the dead of night. It's quiet and serene, with nothing foreshadowing any strangeness.
This. Seen way too many horror movies for this shit. Oh, you're a psycho, mate.
But then the headlights catch something unexpected ahead. Right in the middle of the road stands a lone silhouette, completely motionless and facing the car. The author slows down, clearly unsettled by what he sees. Instead of making a U-turn or backing up, he decides to move forward. At one point, he even rolls down the window and shouts an insult at the stranger, then hits the gas and speeds away. Luckily, the figure doesn't move or show any aggression, but a situation like this could have ended much more tragically. Some commenters believe it might not have been a living person at all. According to one version, someone might have set up a mannequin to force drivers to reduce their speed. Such desolate stretches of road are anxiety-inducing on their own. Total darkness, no cell service, and no one around. That's why such encounters feel as if they were cut from a horror movie scene where something irreparable could happen at any second, even if everything turns out okay in the end. Night drives are inherently nerve-wracking and scary. You never know who will emerge from the brush or who might jump out onto the road. Even an ordinary animal spotted on the shoulder looks extremely alarming because our minds tend to fill in the blanks with unpleasant and sinister images. The most rational answer for this entire video is that it was indeed a mannequin set up by someone as a joke or with malicious intent. In theory, a person could have left the car to see who it was, and at that moment, someone could have jumped out from around a corner, the bushes, or the woods, and then, you can imagine what might happen. On the other hand, it could have been an ordinary passerby who was just under the influence of some substances, but that option is unlikely since the driver opened the window and yelled insults, and there was no response or even a slight movement. So the conclusion is this: it was a mannequin placed there for some unknown reason. Either truly for speed control, for a cruel joke, or someone had very bad intentions. Share your versions in the comments. This amusement attraction in Texas was designed to scare guests with a grim atmosphere. But in September of this year, it was the staff who experienced a shock that definitely isn't in their job descriptions. In the video posted on the official TikTok page, a female employee is seen closing her shift late at night, calmly cleaning the rooms. Everything seems normal and quiet until she approaches one specific, creepy mannequin. If you look closely, the head of this doll suddenly jerks and turns on its own. The movement looks very fast and completely atypical for machinery. As soon as the girl realizes what happened, she runs out of the room with a piercing scream. And, to be honest, I would have done the exact same thing. Even if you work in a haunted house, nothing can prepare you for a mannequin suddenly showing signs of life, especially when you are alone in an empty building. Some viewers suggested it could be a mechanical equipment failure. After all, these attractions often use animatronics. Others are sure it's a prank or clever editing, but the head maneuver doesn't resemble typical animatronic work at all, and the employee's fright looks way too believable. If this isn't a planned setup or a technical glitch, then this is undoubtedly one of the scariest haunted house clips I've seen in a long time. In any case, I wouldn't be surprised if she showed up at work the next morning only to immediately hand in her resignation. A man claims that in the gap between his home and his neighbor's yard, incomprehensible shadows and ghostly silhouettes constantly appear. Most often, this happens at night, but one day he captures something right in broad daylight.
She couldn't find her way over there, so now she's over here. She's back in there trying to find her. You see her? It's right there staring at me. Dude, how fucking scary is that? Oh my god, dude. What the f? She's glowing through all this, bro.
He points the camera at a bush, and there you can actually make out a woman's face peeking through the branches. At first, it's hard to see, but if you focus, the face becomes clearly visible. The man is in shock. The figure seems to be seeping through the thicket, as if trying to sneak onto his property. The first guess might be that it's some kind of editing or visual trick, but you can clearly see physical movement behind the branches. Most people in his place would also tremble with fear, seeing someone staring intently at them from the bushes. But the question remains, was it a ghost, an obsessive stalker, or just an extremely strange neighbor? Write your guesses in the comments. When a person sees various shadows, light glints, something in the dark, or in a corner of a room, our brain independently builds the outlines of figures and human silhouettes. It is quite possible that this was some eccentric neighbor who hid in the bushes and sat there just looking at the man. And the most important thing is, if the homeowner hadn't discovered this silhouette in the brush, what would have happened next? A few months ago, a man moved into a new house located in a fairly remote area. Away from the city noise, he was trying to find peace and quiet. One day, a small and harmless kitten showed up at his doorstep. The man decided to record a video of him playing with the pet. Just a kind and sweet moment for the family archives. But while he was recording, something appeared in the open field behind him that he didn't even notice at first. Here is what caught the lens.
Nobody at all. What the f?
Behind him in the distance stands a dark figure, motionless, right in the middle of the plain, seemingly staring straight at him. A second later, the silhouette turns and slowly walks away, finally vanishing from sight. The man rushes to where the figure stood, but after reaching the spot, he finds no one. One could assume someone just decided to play a prank on him. However, later he starts noticing suspicious tracks and hearing distinct footsteps very close to him. Sounds are heard very clearly, but there isn't a soul nearby. His voice is heard on the recording. He is panicking, calling his dog and trying to realize who is wandering around his property.
Oh my god, guys. I don't know what the going on. I just walked the There's like footsteps. Listen to this shit, can y'all hear it? Oh hell no, what the that dog full of. Alright yo, I gotta check it out. What the hell? Nobody out here. Nobody out here, what the I gotta go get my mom. Oh, what the
Late at night, a thunderous knock sounds at the front door. He cautiously approaches and flings it open, emptiness. But as soon as he turns around, that same dark figure is found already inside the house, in the hallway behind his back. The man immediately bolts into the bedroom and locks himself in until morning. Many users believe that by opening the door, he essentially invited something into his home, and after that ill-fated night, the strange events only begin to escalate. A couple of days later, he goes out into the night garden to try to talk to the creature. In the video, he shows the trees, and then suddenly realizes that something is right in front of him. Immediately, in total horror, he backs away. The silhouette flickers again among the tree trunks. After some more time, the figure makes itself known again. Now it is clearly visible through the window pane. Whatever came for him that memorable day along with the kitten, it clearly has no intention of leaving him. What do you suppose it actually was? Write about it in the comments.
Don't forget to like the video and subscribe. It really helps the channel grow.
A TikTok user filmed a clip inside their cottage late at night. Most likely, it was a security system or a night vision camera. In the beginning, everything looked quite mundane, nothing out of the ordinary, but this calm doesn't last long. Look closely at the flight of stairs. In the video recording, it is barely perceptible, but you can still identify a certain silhouette. Someone or some entity is slowly moving up the stairs. It's easy to miss this fragment the first time, but once you see it, it's impossible to forget. The video was posted 3 years ago, and since then, no new recordings have appeared. Whether she managed to find out what exactly was happening or if she just decided to move remains a mystery. But I sincerely want to believe that she is safe at the moment. If I found something like this on my security system, I would definitely sleep with the lights on or wouldn't risk staying in that building at all. In folklore, stairs are often perceived as transition zones, boundaries between dimensions or states. A huge number of legends tell of ghostly images that silently ascend or descend steps, as if retracing paths from their past lives. One of the most famous examples is the case from Raynham Hall, where a figure was captured in 1936, its misty silhouette appearing to glide down the staircases. This shot became one of the most famous in the history of paranormal research and finally solidified a certain status for stairs. So, who actually went up the steps in that house? An uninvited intruder, a random trick of light and shadow, or something from the supernatural world? Either way, it's truly scary to watch. Total darkness, night recording mode, grainy quality. This is a ready-made collection of unsettling content. Yes, it could have been a passing shadow, something mystical from a parallel world. But I am mostly inclined to think it was just a bad recording. In other words, there wasn't enough light, the camera was an old model, meaning the sensor itself brightened individual details during light processing. Because a car was passing in the distance or light from windows hit certain areas, the illusion of a human figure was created. However, from another perspective, this might not just be about ghosts. It could have been a very real criminal who hid under the stairs and waited for the right moment to penetrate deeper into someone else's home. And such a version sounds much more disturbing than any mysticism. A person just waiting for their hour under the stairs, listening to see if the owners lock all the entrances. The result here is two-sided, either it's an optical illusion or it was a stalker. I'm waiting for your thoughts in the comments. The lens pans across a Victorian Christmas celebration. Nearby, holiday carols can be heard, everything looks peaceful. When the cameraman suddenly turns the camera behind his back, at that very moment, something truly terrifying happens.
Watch my step here. Oh, give me 1 second. I don't know if you guys can see that. Watch my step here. Oh, give me 1 second. I don't know if you guys can see that. Watch my step here. Oh, give me 1 second. I don't know if you guys can see that.
In one brief episode that is extremely easy to overlook, a human face can be seen very clearly in a gap in the building. It is deathly pale, frozen, and appears to be staring directly into the camera. It looks like a living person is intently watching them from the darkness. More strangeness is added by the video quality itself, even though the clip was uploaded only a couple of years ago. The image resembles footage from old digital cameras of the early 2000s. Because of this, the episode is perceived as a fragment of an urban legend, and the figure itself looks extremely out of place. Unfortunately, the channel creator hasn't published any more information, so we are left with only this single unsettling snippet without any clear follow-up. So what was it really? A random passerby who happened to be behind the building? A simple attempt to scare the audience, or a genuine ghost lurking in the shadows? I'm waiting for your hypotheses in the comments. On November 2nd, 2024, a TikTok user under the pseudonym Rudu posted a video on his profile in which he tries to prove to viewers that something inexplicable is happening in his home. He moves through the rooms, showing the environment. At first glance, everything seems completely normal, but you only have to listen carefully, and it becomes clear that something truly horrifying is taking place. Listen to it yourself. Mysterious thuds are heard coming from somewhere deep within the house's structure. Unfortunately, he hasn't published any new explanations since this incident. In the comments, followers write that they are sincerely praying for his fate and hope that he was able to find out exactly what was disturbing him in the house. We will believe that everything ended successfully for him. This is a well-known YouTube channel of a team that travels to the creepiest and most abandoned locations all over the globe to explore them in detail and document their finds. As you can imagine, such expeditions often result in very strange and frightening incidents. And today we will look at one such video published in June 2025. At the beginning of the clip, the participants move calmly through the abandoned building, looking into every room.
Wow. Okay. That made me jump. Okay. Okay. Wow. Okay. There was someone in there. There was someone just there, Joe. There was fucking goosebumps. That was someone just there, right? That noise and then that.
There was no windows open.
The sound of an object falling is heard. The whole team jumps in fright. The researchers attempt to establish contact with possible ghosts in the building and suddenly get an almost instantaneous reaction. Suddenly, a loud bang is heard. Something falls to the floor with a crash. It is important to emphasize that at that moment, not a single window frame was open, so the draft version can be ruled out.
Holy f*** was that? Jesus Christ! Holy f*** was that? Jesus Christ! Holy f*** was that? Jesus Christ!
You did not. You didn't touch anything.
Hurt.
Yeah, I just smacked into the side there. You did not touch anything. I was right behind you. What?
It's that tin. It's that tin. Let me turn a light on. Did the REM pod just go off then? Am I losing my mind? That just moved. Whatever.
The group enters the bedroom, and there another frightening event awaits them. According to their testimony, a sharp sound was made by a massive metal box standing in the corner of the room. Unfortunately, the moment the object moved did not get caught on camera, but the sound is heard very clearly, and the team's fright looks completely natural. To this day, no one has been able to provide a logical explanation for what was going on in that building. And, to be honest, we will probably never know the truth. We can only hope that the team doesn't decide to go there again, if only for the sake of their own safety.
Don't forget to like the video and subscribe. It really helps the channel grow. Christopher Hill. He has explored it all, from empty hospitals to deserted schools. In a video uploaded in May of 2024, Chris showed his fourth return to Robert Fulton School, a place he had been to before, and where he had encountered truly terrifying things. Robert Fulton School stands in one of the most dangerous areas of Cleveland, Ohio, where incidents, robberies, and the use of weapons happen very often. Initially, Chris wanted to bring a friend along, but he changed his mind at the last minute, leaving Chris to study the building alone. The first thing Chris sees upon entering is a sharp, foul stink. It's clear the building has been empty for a long time. Not wanting to risk his health, Chris puts on a mask and continues his rounds. He also says the floors feel very unreliable. Another serious danger, since collapses could lead to parts of the building falling. During his walk, Chris reaches a spot that feels familiar to him. A year earlier, in May, he filmed a video in this very school. And it was in this room that a disturbing incident occurred. Later, going down to the basement, Chris approaches the bottom step and sets the camera down to climb over a pile of old furniture. And in that moment, a person appears in the distance for just a second and then vanishes from the frame, clearly trying to stay hidden. The scariest part here is that Chris didn't notice him at the time, not until he studied the footage later. On the video, you can see someone moving between the desks, but Chris himself remains in the dark. When he's about to leave, his camera battery dies. He quickly goes outside to swap it, still not realizing that he just captured someone else's presence on film. But even outside, the anxiety doesn't go away. He hears voices again, coming from the empty building.
That's behind. Somebody's down here.
Then something even more disturbing happens. While reviewing the recordings, Chris pauses the video. At the moment the person with the flashlight turns, and in that same second, Chris sees a terrifying detail. In his hand was a handgun. Realizing how dangerous the situation is, Chris bolts for it.
I hear somebody talking. Somebody's talking.
It's hard to say exactly what those people were doing in the building. Maybe they were squatters, scrap metal hunters, or even criminals hiding from the law. But one thing is clear, they didn't want Chris being there. As he was running, loud pops rang out behind his back. Luckily, Chris managed to get out whole. Later, when he started carefully studying the filmed materials, he noticed even more details, including the fact that the person he caught on film be the same one he met in a previous video. And that's not all. In one part of the video, you can clearly see someone walking past the window. And Chris didn't notice the stalking during the shoot. It's scary to realize that he was maybe being followed or secretly watched. Now this is truly creepy, meeting a guy with a gun in an empty building and then hearing the sounds of shots. This isn't just a creepy video. This is a total nightmare. Maybe it's fake, but if it was real, it's extremely terrifying. And that guy who appeared in the frame, who stood there and then vanished, I have a feeling it's the same squatter from the last video who lives there. And he's not very happy that someone keeps coming to visit, so he probably tried to scare him off. But that person doesn't really fit with the guy with the pistol. And I'm sure the squatter just lives there. But the guy with the weapon, he just happened to walk in and cross paths with the vlogger. And it's very good that nothing happened to the author of the video and he managed to get away. In any case, when you see someone in a ruin, it's best to leave immediately. You don't know their intent. As for whether it's fake, it's hard to say. Maybe some parts were acted out, but that coincidence and fear looked real. Honestly, I'd say there are hints of a setup, but the overall feeling is like a real horror. Let's do this. I can't confirm here if it's fake or not. You tell me in the comments what you think. The next video belongs to a different author. In the video, Rob mentions he's going to check out an empty house. When Rob goes inside, the suspicions are confirmed. Based on the tools left everywhere, you can see that construction work was actually happening in the house. He continues studying the rooms and finds a very creepy closet hidden behind one of the doors. But pretty soon, he starts hearing suspicious noises. At first, he thinks maybe a car pulled up, but after checking, he realizes there is no one outside. He continues studying the kitchen, the rooms, and eventually goes to the basement. The basement seems a bit weird to him. Based on the layout, the main part is on one level, and in the back, there is a tight space, like a narrow crawl space. Rob wants to go outside, but changes his mind quickly. He doesn't want the neighbors to see him. He goes back and starts crawling into this narrow passage to film the ending for the video. At first, you hear only silence, and then panic rustling and the sounds of fast movement coming toward him.
This is so creepy, man. Alright, I'm about to crawl into this just for this outro. I really hope there aren't any spiders in here, because honestly, as some of you already know, I am absolutely terrified of spiders. And like, yeah, I don't want this. I don't want anything to crawl on me, bro. Oh! What the? Dude.
What? Oh.
Shocked, Rob grabs the gear and flies out to the street. Being attacked in such a tight spot is one of the creepiest situations you can imagine. At the end of the clip, Rob does a quick breakdown and says he checked the whole passage beforehand and was sure it was empty. So he was stunned when someone, likely a squatter, rushed straight at him. Luckily, Rob managed to get out without an incident. Now just imagine, you were in a tight spot, narrow, so dark, and then you suddenly hear noises coming at you. You're in a crawl space. You can't really defend yourself. Getting out fast won't work either. This isn't mystical horror. This is real panic, a living situation where you are not in the best position or place. The guy really was in big danger. Yeah, maybe it was a squatter. A person with something sharp in their hands, coming at you with not the best intentions. That's not just a squatter. That's a huge threat. And this isn't just a disturbing video. It's a video where everything could have ended very badly. Do you agree with me? To me, it doesn't look like a fake. And it's good that the author is fine. The video came out, which means he's alive. This YouTube channel has been dedicated to exploring abandoned buildings and schools for over 8 years now. This project is considered one of the biggest in this niche. In August 2019, the content creator John went to check out a mansion that is surrounded by terrifying legends. The house he chose to explore used to be owned by a man who was rumored to be the leader of a secret occult cult. They say he performed various mystical practices and ceremonies in that place.
My keys are making noises. Freaking somebody down there, dude. Come on, quit messing with me. I'm just trying to freaking... I'll leave. There's somebody else in here. Now I've got myself in a bad situation.
About halfway through the investigation, John begins to feel like he's probably not alone in the rooms. He starts to get really anxious. It becomes obvious that someone is clearly making their presence known. John tries to make sure there are no outsiders in the house and checks every single room. But after a few minutes, he doesn't find a soul and suddenly hears a loud crash upstairs.
This floor don't feel very good. This floor don't feel... Oh my God, 3 lantern. Hello? Is there somebody here? I'm not here to bother or rob anything. I was just here exploring. I thought it was a band. Oh God! Oh God! Oh God! Turn on! Oh my God! Oh my God!
And then, out of nowhere, a stranger screams at him that he's going to end him. John is in a total panic. He doesn't waste a second and bolts outside. It's scary to even imagine that the whole time the author was wandering the rooms, a second person was upstairs, maybe watching him. Luckily, John got out in one piece and unharmed, but who knows what would have happened if he had gone up those stairs a bit sooner. Clearly, he has no intention of ever going back there. I had a serious question. In the video, at one point, you can see a light source. Did you notice that? And for me, the question remains, how does an abandoned building have working power? Because of this, there's a suspicion that this isn't a real video, but a script. And maybe the building isn't empty, but since there is dust everywhere and everything is trashed, that theory is out. This is 100% an abandoned site. I just had a big question. Why is there juice in a ruin? I don't know. It's just the first time I've seen that. And it's quite possible they just never cut the power. And there is actually an aggressive squatter living there who yelled that he was gonna get him. In principle, it's possible. What do you think? Is this staged or a legit situation? Don't forget to like the video and subscribe. It really helps the channel grow. The USA is a country with a pretty difficult crime situation, and this vlogger decided to visit one of those neighborhoods. What used to be a thriving and peaceful area has today turned into one of the poorest and most troubled zones. About 25% of all buildings and houses here are completely deserted. The area suffers from an extremely high rate of incidents, significantly exceeding the national average. If you are located in East Cleveland, you have about a 1 in 60 chance of becoming a victim of aggression. For over an hour, Chris explored various locations, and then he enters one of the deserted houses. At first, everything goes quietly, but the vibe starts to change when he goes down into the basement.
I would explore the basement, but it's a big ass spider right there. And, oh shit, something's down there. Probably a dog. I'll get the fuck out. Dead.
After a couple of minutes, he catches sounds from below and realizes that a snore is coming from somewhere. Likely, someone is sleeping in the basement. That was enough for Chris to immediately leave the building and head to the next one. The new spot was the Elderwood sector, Chapman Avenue. According to the records, this area was heavily damaged back in the 90s when one of the biggest fires in the city's history broke out in Cleveland. The flames engulfed the center of the block, destroying many structures and, unfortunately, taking lives. After that sad event, the local community began to fall apart, and over time the neighborhood became almost totally empty, remaining only a shadow of its former self. While walking down the street, Chris saw the harsh reality. In front of one building, he sees 3 people in a blackout state due to substances. He walks past and goes inside, but finds nothing interesting there. When he comes back out after 5 minutes, those same people were still lying there, not moving. That sight leaves a heavy feeling. Finally, Chris goes to the last point of the route, an empty apartment complex located, unfortunately, right by a preschool. The building is in critical shape. Walls are crumbling. The ceiling is barely holding. When Chris enters the basement, he immediately smells a weird scent, like a burnt cigarette. He cautiously goes further and sees empty containers, bags, and various trash.
It smells like smoke, like a cigarette. There's a bottle of alcohol in a bag. Oh shit. Dude. Get in here. This is... I don't even want to touch this stuff. And a gun. That's crazy.
And then the situation becomes even more tense. Chris realizes that someone might be nearby. He says that he can't hear his partner and tries to call him. Luckily, he manages to get out without any consequences, but no one can say for sure how it would have ended if Chris hadn't shown such a quick reaction. The video, at first glance, seems legit because these slums attract various characters like addicts, the homeless, or just lawbreakers who are simply hiding from the authorities. This is the biggest fear when filming in ruins, not meeting some paranormal entity, a ghost, or something else, but meeting a person who could easily hurt you or take your life. If you think about it, the guy was really lucky he didn't get caught and he got away fine. Well, not exactly fine. He ran for his life. He was just lucky. But there is a second point. When he first entered, a man was snoring. That definitely isn't fake. Maybe a guy was actually sleeping there, but when he went into that basement a second time, looking for something, and then suddenly someone enters the basement and starts shining a flashlight. To me, that looks like a bit of a script. However, maybe it's a totally real situation, and life is so complex that you never know who you'll meet on the street. What do you think? Let me know in the comments. Don't forget to like the video and subscribe. It really helps the channel grow.